I'm sure Mr. Doku is listening, and I have a very.
I know what Mr. Doku will say. That's what I'm saying it ahead of time. He'll tell you to buy airtime.
I'll talk to Mr. Doku.
I hear you. Anyway,
Mr.
Doku is here, so he's an energy expert, and should I say incoming president? Hello, incoming,
yes.
Incoming, eh?
Incoming.
How's it looking?
It's looking very well.
Yeah?
Very, very well.
Okay.
I keep saying that it's looking very well, and Johnny was asking me the other day, are you going to be like Indum that says, look at my people?
But Isa, what's your problem?
Well. I thought you were going to say president of some association or something, but you just ended up president, so I presume it's going to be president of Ghana.
You don't know that he has intentions of running for presidency?
It's news to me.
Oh, you don't know?
I'm just learning.
You don't know?
Okay.
You learn something new every day.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
I wish you will.
You could be sitting next to your next president.
Maybe you should start lobbying for vice presidential position.
When you get there, remember
Anyway,
remember that we were on set one morning.
Mr. Fred Agbenyo is also here, and he's a deputy international relations manager for the NDC. Do you also have any plans of running for presidency or something?
I didn't even know my brother.
You also didn't know?
No, he didn't.
Where have you both been?
I'm surprised.
He launched this interest. Exactly, in February.
You didn't tell me. You didn't know about it.
Will you vote for him?
Thank you.
I wish you welcome.
Thank you.
You haven't answered the question.
I belong to a party.
So you vote for... Or maybe if he's your brother and you...
Let me tell you something. I'm the only person, if I become the candidate of MPP, more NDC will vote for me than they'll vote for NDC.
How sure are you about that?
If you become the candidate of MPP,
Fred will vote for me as president.
Even Isa is not sure.
I have declared my intention. It's not a secret.
But it's not a secret,
that I have declared to run on the ticket of the MPP. It's not a secret.
Oh, there's no way I can vote for you.
You can't vote for him, even if you identify with his policies and his ideology.
No. Once you're MPP,
but you're my brother. You vote.
No.
You see, that's a problem.
But is it not about Ghana first?
No.
That is not
for you. It's party first.
No, it's not about party. About the philosophy. It's about ideology. I don't believe.
That's what I'm saying. That what if you identify with those?
He is going to run on a political philosophy that I don't believe in, and I cannot associate myself with that philosophy.
I would say countries like Nigeria and Kenya don't have political ideologies and philosophies.
But
because in Nigeria, it's very easy to form a party.
But Nigeria, they vote more based on tribal lines.
What does it produce?
Any other thing.
Look at what is happening in Kenya.
What I mean, it's purely tribal politics, really.
But in Ghana, the lines are so drawn that.
Maybe you all can help
us. I'm not going to vote
change.
for me as a president.
I cannot. I don't
cannot, or you won't.
Isa, are you trying to tell us that you have intentions of running for president?
People are declaring their ambitions.
I'm just asking.
He's a former MP, so
I'm here today by the grace of God for what we are. You never know.
Oh, so
you never know. You never say never in politics. I
see.
You never say never.
Okay, we're waiting for it.
In this political power, when you declare your intentions very early, they will kill you at
But you never say.
Oh, but Kojo is not dead. He's still alive.
We all know that well. I wish him well.
What do you mean by you all know that?
Let me reserve my comments.
I'm a heavyweight. You can't kill a heavyweight.
Anyway,
I know.
Well, talking about heavyweights, there's one within the NPP who has, NewDay, proudly brought to you by Niche Cocoa Drink and Niche Chocolate, as well as Niche Chocolate Paste. And still in the studios, Kojo Poku, energy expert, is here. Fred Agbenyo is the Deputy International Relations Manager for the NDC. And Isa Hussaini, former MP, Okankwe North Constituency. I'll start off with you, Kojo, before we even go into the conversation with our other guests, because we need to understand. I mean, a lot of concerns have been raised. The PURC put out that statement indicating that electricity bills had been increased by some 27%. And not just that, in fact, it's 27.15%. Water has been increased by 21.55%. And even further is the fact that Lifeline consumers, the brackets that they fell within, has been reduced as well. So no more 0 to 50 kilowatts per hour, but 0 to 30 kilowatts per hour. And there are a lot of concerns as well. But businesses are saying that at this time when we're reeling under the economic conditions that we find ourselves in, is this the right time to be increasing tariffs when we're already paying for so much with very limited salary?
Bella, thank you. And before my submission, I didn't thank my people out there, KNP family. Let me thank the KNP family and thank the people of Central Region. The people of Central Region, and they are doing a very good work. Look, let me...
Which particular constituency?
Well, I'm greeting the whole of the Central Region. I'm not greeting
why people on Kojo this morning?
But anyway, let me now go on to what the question you asked Bella. Bella, look, if this morning businesses are asking why increase this time, the good news for businesses is that businesses, in some instances, the medium-scale businesses only have a 5% increase. What I'm telling you is not something I, Kojo Poku, is saying. If anybody who took the PURC announcement did the percentage calculation, when PURC said that electricity prices have been increased by 27%. It's an average of all the increases is what is the 27%. In some instances, it's 5%. In the lifeline bracket, it's 28.52%. In the residential bracket, it's 36.12%. We all heard our brother John Jinapo saying that, oh, it's not 27%, it's 36%.
So 36% for residential.
36% for residential customers, yes. 36% for residential customers. And 5% for small scale. What this government...
Why the disparities?
No, okay, so let me tell you what the policy is going forward. We in the civil society and AGI have always said that in the foreign world, we want to be pro-industry. In the Western world, businesses pay less and residential pay more. In Ghana, the reverse was the case, where industries pay more to cross-subsidize residential. We, as a nation, okay, trying to now move into an industrialized nation, need to empower businesses to basically have cheaper cost of electricity. So the energy cost of a business is very important. I have been consulting for a lot of companies, and one of the key issues they have is the business cost of input. Okay, now, if we are trying to do the intra-African free trade and Ghanaian business are to compete, then the Ghanaian business need to have help in policy to compete. And one of the help that the government through PURC has done is basically say that, look, let's reverse the trend. Let residential now pay more and let businesses pay less. Now, in some of the band tariff, and this is something that, one of the most annoying thing about for me now is that it's annoying because people don't read. When PURC issued this document, there are instances where there is even a reduction of the tariff. When you look at the non-residential customer, the 600 kilowatt plus band, okay, you
for
realize
electricity,
that for electricity, yes, the non-residential, the old tariff per kilowatt hour in GH per Suez is 133.9765. The new tariff is 133.09. So there's a 90 per Suez reduction for businesses that uses more than 600 kilowatts per hour in a month. So it's not that there's a cross-board 27% increase for everybody. No, that's not true.
Okay.
Last night, I spent a lengthy time with Ishmael from PURC and found out what's going on because we, the civil society, sat down and we couldn't find where this 27% was coming from. And he said, no, what they announced was a summation of all the increment and found an average with 7. So there are 7 bands. They added all the increases and then divided by 7 to give an average of the 27, which is what they put out there.
I see.
But what their statement should have said is that an average increase of 27%.
Okay.
Now, there's even an instance where the SLT, which is the SLT is special load tariff.
Yes.
Okay. When you go down to the high voltage, the HV mines, their tariff don't even change. It's the same. There's no increase for them.
63, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need
but there's an increase in service charge, by the way.
The service charge increase is across board. Everybody, there's an increase in service charge.
Okay.
But the tariff itself for HV mines, there's no increase. So what PURC looked at, remember when this whole thing came out and people were looking at 130%, 400%, all this percent, those increases that ECG were asking for was not what was going to appear here. There is something called the distribution service charge. Okay. The distribution service charge is what goes to ECG. That was what ECG was asking for, 140% of the distribution service charge. What PURC would have done, take GMPC made a submission, Ghana Gas made a submission, Gridco made a submission. So all those feed into the value of what you get on this paper. What PURC did is that look at the broad value chain and said, okay, how can I give everybody what they want without burdening the Ghanaian? They went back and now looked at the gas input. If you look at this same document, the gas has been reduced marginally, but it is only the transmission that has been up a bit. Yeah. So they negotiated the gas a bit downwards so that they can get a savings from there. They've negotiated the PPAs with some of the companies to now make sure that the price, the input cost of the generation is gone down. So one of the things that Ghanaians have to be aware of is that the 27.1 increase is an average of all the 7 bands. And
you're saying that for businesses, small-scale businesses, 5% increase.
For small-scale businesses, if you're using 0 to 300 kilowatt hour, then it's 5%. It's 5% increase. Okay. If you're using 300 to 600, it is a 5%.
And the 0 to 300 are the ones that they said they targeted, like the hairdressers.
Mostly they are to fall in between that. But you see, for me, that's where I think it was a bit ingenious by PURC to start mentioning hairdressers and those. Because a hairdresser that has 3-story building using 4 air conditions will definitely fall outside the 300. So what the ideal of the 300 band is somebody that probably has one AC. Okay. Now, it's difficult to say that these are the band because in the ECG tariff band, they don't have those categories. What they have is residential and non-residential.
But let's take a look at the Ghana Hotels Association because they are complaining that at this point, when we're barely even meeting our revenue targets, this is not the time to increase
so the Ghana Hotel
electricity because that means that we'll have to transfer the cost to the consumer.
They've not read this document.
But they're saying that whichever way, even if it's a 2% increase,
no, but a hotel will have
we'll have to transfer it to the consumer.
But a hotel will have a reduction. If a hotel would be a non-residential, consuming 600 plus more, a hotel would definitely consume more than 600. He's got a reduction as per this PLC announcement.
Okay.
It's a reduction. So people should read.
Should this have been higher? Because the Africa Center for Energy Policy had said that if you look at the factors that the PURC used in deciding what percentage increase we should get for tariffs, it was actually low and unrealistic compared to the real situation on the ground. Because exchange rate at this point, we all know that it's nearing 10 cedis. And so if you are using a lower exchange rate, in the next 3 months, we can't guarantee that the exchange rate will be any better. For all you know, the cedi will even fall more. So how do you use that? In actual fact, they should have increased it by a higher margin than what we're seeing now.
No, it's true. We've all had that concern. And again, you know, I belong to a group called COSECA. COSECA is a much bigger umbrella under the civil society. We are going to issue a statement in the coming weeks. Look, it is understandable that the inflation rate they use about 16%, the FX is 7.5 and all that. We think that they should have done a much higher. But you see, in their thinking, some of these things might be transient. Okay, so you might be in a turbulent situation where you will come out of it. You are doing a 3-year projection where you're going to have a quarterly adjustment. So there is an opportunity for PURC to sit first quarter next year to look at all these things. Okay. And I think that if the government is able to do what they are supposed to do, which is basically bring down the inflation, get the strength of the cedi to come up so that the cedi now comes a bit stronger. By first quarter, PULC can look at this and see that, okay, we looked at a certain averages to arrive at this. In first quarter of 2023, whatever that will happen would have happened, right? So they can now take that into consideration and adjust it accordingly. But this is just, I would say this is for the 3-year adjustment. But PULC also had the mandate to do the automatic adjustment every quarter. So the next review that they will do is probably end of year or first quarter. But
it also depends on the inflation rates going down.
All of them. It depends on...
And the FX.
And FX, yes.
Issa, what are you doing about this? Because Ghanaians can't keep paying more.
Yes, Ghanaians
if you have the power to control inflation and you have the power to also control the exchange rate to some extent, what are you doing about that? If there should be an election again, Adjoa Safo is likely to poll some 50.3%. So she's likely to retain her seat as MP. But if for some reason she doesn't run again, and now we've had names like Michael Quay Jr. being the likely person to run on behalf of the MPP within that constituency, as against someone like Eli Plim, who ran back in 2020, then it's likely the NDC could snatch this seat from the NPP. What do you think the majority should look at this point?
I think it's a multifaceted of issues. And I think all of them should be done in parallel. What is going on in Parliament is an institutional process. The MPP is a stakeholder because the parliamentarian ran on the ticket of the MPP. Then the constituents that she represents also has a stake because she represents them. Every parliamentarian is what you call a people's representative. Whilst the majority in Parliament, the process is going on legal, as my brother said, whether or not they will now follow the due process, let's leave that. But I think the missing link is that the party is not engaging extensively in the constituency to find out what they want. Because my brother asks, has anybody done that? Aside media going in there to talk to them, that's not the issue. The constituents, she represents the constituents. Has anybody taken time to consult the party leadership at the constituency level?
Yes,
the delegates.
I can tell you it is.
They have. In fact, the party leadership has been speaking, and they feel slighted by...
the party, the national... See, there are two sides of the leadership. There's a national leadership and there's a constituency leadership.
Yes.
The constituency leadership goes on from the delegates all the way, the polling station executives, all the way to the constituency executives. Now, what is their position on this matter?
They feel disrespected.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just putting it out there. What is their position? That's what I'm saying, that there should be a few processes in parallel, right? before anybody makes a decision, the most important thing, that's why people are saying that, look, we could lose the seat, blah, 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 blah. Look, we need to find out what the delegates in the constituency want. She represents them.
Okay.
If they don't want her, you can't force her on them. So if they don't want her and the constituents feel that, look, it's gotten to a point where we don't feel we have representation, then the party has to now, the national executive of the party has to make a decision with the constituency, what do we do?
Okay.
That is separate from what the parliamentarians are doing. That is informed when the parliamentarians get to the point where Parliament as an institution feels that she has broken some rules and she has to leave. I believe strongly that we should have due process. Institutions should work. When we always do this thing where we look at faces and individuality of issues to now bend the rules a little bit, it has cascaded effects.
Okay.
So we should always go down the middle and make sure fair is fair. If the standing order says that this is what it is, let's go with it and go. But whilst that is ongoing, we should basically do that constituency thing well. Because my checks tells me that there are deep-seated issues in the constituency.
Okay.
This does not start with actual leaving for abroad. You know what I mean? So there are deep-seated issues in the constituency. And that is an issue that the national executive and the constituency executive should sit and resolve.
What are these issues? If you don't mind divulging.
It's not for me to put out.
Okay. But there are problems.
But there are issues that started way before she was elected, after she was elected. There are issues in the constituency. That's what I'm saying. When my brother says that if they know, the national executive should sit with the constituency executive and make that decision whether was the way forward. Do we plan for a by-election, and if we plan, what are the situations that we need to put in place? The party should be ahead of the game. We don't have to sit, okay, for the parliamentary to make that decision before the MPP now have their dots in line. The MPP should have their dots in line before the parliamentarian situation erupts. So in any case, for me, I think that both situations should run in parallel. That issue in the constituency need to be addressed. But
are we at a point in the economy where we can afford to even run a by-election?
Well, look, by-elections, constituency elections has its own dynamics. Normally, in the general national situation feeds into, but there are also some dynamics at the constituency level that comes to play. So it's not always the case that because there's a bad situation nationwide, it would necessarily affect. Yes, it has a risk factor in the overall perception in the constituency. But the most important thing is that if the constituency executives, the foot soldiers, they believe that, look, we don't think she represents us, we think we can win this election, we can go door to door and convince people to win this election, then by all means, let's do that. But it should be a Dome Kwabinya position. If we don't do that, we will in the long term lose that constituency anyway, because then the foot soldiers who are the party loyalists will feel that they've been done by. And we've seen instances where people who the party feels should run has run and independents have won.
Yeah.
So that equation is very important.
And that's the other dynamic as well, because there are concerns that if she even decides to run as an independent candidate, that could also spell doom for the MPP, because
she cannot win. No,
it either means she could win or there'll be split votes for the MPP.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If somebody goes to the constituency and does a good internal research and find out how popular or unpopular she is, then that feeds into the decision.
Okay.
If she's very popular, then you now have a situation where you need to go back to her and say, look, try and smoke a peace pipe with her. But if the constituents don't feel like she represents them and they feel they can win the seat without her, then you also make that decision.
But you don't think that if she runs as an independent, she can win?
No, she can't.
You don't think so?
No, if she runs as an independent, like what the political science person said might come true, because then she will only coming in to split the MPP and the neutral
But
votes.
what if the NDC throws their weight behind her? Well, that could also be a factor.
I have not looked that far. Okay. But what I'm saying is that her as a person run as an independent in that constituency, she might not win, but what she would do is probably split the MPP vote and get somebody else to win.
I'll bring Fred in shortly, but just a quick one. So if you look at the last paragraph of her letter, she said that, cognizant of my duties to the 75,000 constituents who elected me, this development is opportune and will afford me more time to concentrate on my parliamentary responsibilities and constituency engagements. You get a sense that then running as, a minister, side-by-side MP, that was getting in the way of her ability to run as an MP effectively, and so maybe this was a good time for her to now focus on being an MP.
Well, no,
so maybe she should have resigned in the first place to avoid all this. A
lot of people, look, she lives in Accra. Dominic Kwabena is down the road. People lives in Wale Wale and lives in Accra and doing very well in their constituency. Parliamentary work is multifaceted. Everybody, most people are fortunate to live in the constituency and go to Parliament. Some people live very far and they have to go every Friday and go and try and do constituency work. So I don't think being a parliamentarian interferes so much. Some people, yes, it does interfere with them. So look, Ajwa has a few circumstances. We should understand the circumstances she's in. Okay, she's a mother. She has, and we all heard about the situation that she has to go abroad and all that. So we should take all those things in context.
Which is why people were expecting that she would have resigned as a minister, at least, since she said that she was facing some domestic issues and had to take care of her child. At least resign and allow someone else who's capable to run that ministry while you are away.
Yeah, possible. But what I'm saying is that, look, these are not issues that we can individually be able to, we can only empathize, okay? We can't be able to say that, look, we understand what's going on. Empathy is the only thing we can do. Let's give the benefit of the doubt. But my thing is that proper consultation needs to be done. The consultation has to be the national party level, the constituents who she represents, they should basically be consulted extensively, and her situation, minus take away what Parliament is doing as an institution in the due process.
Okay, Fred, is the minority probably reconsidering the position that they took, you know, with regards to Ajwa Safo and having her seats declared vacant? Because I remember that they had said that until we hear from her, which is the law of natural justice, we should not declare her seat vacant. Is that going to change?
Well, Bella, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers. I am just wondering why you brought two MPP people here against me alone.
He's here as an energy expert. I just brought this
my brother Kojo as an energy expert. Kojo has just declared on this set.
Kojo is an energy expert. He's here because of the issues concerning tariff increments, which is what he's here to speak on.
So introduce him as such.
We threw this
that my brother Kojo, I am NDC's MPP, and that we have two MPP on set. Then we can proceed. Now, Article 97.
No, Fred.
Oh, no, Fred.
Let's not go into that.
No, Fred. I think that we should look at it.
He's not being fair. You're not being fair, but let's not being fair.
Because I am here to represent the new patriotic party.
Let me tell you, Kojo was brought here because of the conversation about tariffs. Which is why we brought him. We threw in this issue of Ajwa Safo because it is right.
In his submission, they said we are going to look at
it.
We are.
But there is no. But hold on, Fred. No. You brought this up. Let's address it.
Okay.
You brought this up. Let's address it.
I think I can't hear you because your book is on the table.
Let me repeat then.
No, you don't need to repeat. We heard what you said. Carry on. I asked you a question.
Fred, you brought this up. Let's address it. There is no doubt in this country that I am planning to run a ticket of the MPP.
Yes.
My work as an energy expert and as a civil society participant has never been in doubt.
That's true.
That is why I'm on this.
That is true.
But the point is that the discussion that we are having has got nothing to do with. Look, we are educating Ghanaians.
I agree.
Exactly. So there was no point in bringing.
I'm only saying that Bella should admit that they brought two MPP people against one NDC.
I will not admit that. I brought Kojo in, and the producers brought Kojo in as an energy expert.
And he has accepted.
How does that change
Kojo is here as an energy expert. Let's talk about Ajwa Safo because this transcends party colors.
Article 97. No, he said